Hello and welcome to a session on understanding the camera lens. For a video camera to operate, it must be able to concentrate light reflected from the surface of subjects to create an image. In current models of cameras, this function is provided by the lens, a series of optical glass or plastic elements cemented together and mounted in such a way as to focus light on the surface of the light conversion tubes or chips. The lens is mounted permanently on the front of a consumer quality camera. In equipment used at the professional level, interchangeable lenses may be used. The three basic characteristics of a lens are its focal length, its focus range and its aperture settings. Focal length. The focal length of a lens is a measurement usually given in millimeters of the ratio between the diameter of the lens and the distance from its optical center to the focal plane, the location of the chip faces. The important factor to remember about focal length is that the longer the measurement, the greater the enlargement of the subject. The shorter the measurement, the smaller the subject will appear. Conversely, the longer focal length allows space for fewer subjects in the frame, and the shorter focal length allows more subjects to be included in the frame. In addition, the longer the focal length, the more compressed the distance appears going away from the camera, called the x-axis. Also, movement in front of the camera, the x-axis appears to be accelerated. The apparent distances on the x-axis using a short focal length lens appear to be increased and movement on the x-axis appears to be slowed down. The focal length of a lens also determines its ability to focus over a range from close to farther away from the camera, called depth of field. Other characteristics of lenses determined by the focal length are explained later in this section. Focus. The ability of the lens to concentrate light reflected from a subject to create the sharpest image is called focus. Focus is a relative term because a lens is in focus on an image when that image appears as sharply and clearly as possible on the surface of the chips. There are two separate ways to focus an image. Front focus is achieved by adjusting, usually by turning the barrel of the lens, until the image is sharply focused at a point behind the lens, called the focal point. The second way to focus is the back focus. Back focus involves adjusting either the lens body or the pickup surface until an image located an infinite distance from the camera is in focus on the surface of the chips. The back focus is a technician's adjustment and should not have to be readjusted unless the camera or lens is jarred or bumped out of adjustment. Focusing a zoom lens is more complex than focusing a prime or fixed focal length lens, which is used in feature film productions. The lens must be zoomed to its maximum focal length, framed and focused on the intended subject, and then zoomed back to the desired framing. All subjects located the same distance from the camera as the original subject will be in focus. Shooting any subject closer or further away from the camera requires resetting the focus. There are a number of techniques that camera operators use to capture the action in focus. The most popular method is called follow focus. This technique requires the camera operator to continually change the focus as he or she follows the action, constantly turning the focus ring to keep the subject sharp whenever it begins to soften. However, focusing is not always as easy as that. With practice, it can become a reflexive action. That does not mean it becomes easy. Zone focusing. It refers to when camera operators are assigned a zone on the field of play or at a news event. They calculate the aperture so that basically everything will be in focus when the player or other subject moves into their zone. They generally do not try to shoot the subject when they are outside of their zone. Pre-focusing is when the camera operator focuses the camera on the subject before beginning to record.